Today, I am pleased, honored to count as my interviewee someone who very recently was promoted to the position of academic director of all our business programs at the CUNY School of Professional Studies, and that is Dr. Tara Barca. Tara, good morning. It's good
Good
to see you.
morning. Good morning, Jorge. How are you?
Very good, very good, and thank you for joining me and dedicating this half hour to discussing a little bit of what you're doing at the school. I think our audience would really enjoy listening about what's new in the business programs and how they might find it interesting in terms of opportunities for their careers or their studies. So before we even get started on that topic, though, I'd love to hear a little bit about your story, your background. If you can tell us how you decided to pursue a career in academia and specifically in the business discipline. So if you could, let's start by getting a little bit of perspective on your background and how you got to it.
Thank you. So I've been teaching for SPS since 2010. I started my career in academia at the College of Staten Island in 2008. I always knew from an early age that I wanted to be a teacher. My father was actually in administration for CUNY for many years, and I was thinking about going that route. But then my mom actually inspired me to achieve my PhD. She has a PhD in psychology. And that led me to obtain the PhD. I've been teaching for a while, and I love it. I love learning with my students. I love teaching. I love growing with my students. There's always something new to learn.
Excellent. And why business of all the disciplines?
Yeah. So, when I got my MBA in human resource management, I really liked helping people. I was actually at that time, I opened a vocational consulting company, and I was helping a lot of students determine their career paths. But business has always been something that's interesting to me. There's always ways to innovate. I always dreamed of opening my own business, which I achieved, which unfortunately I don't have too much time for now as AD. But I think that there's always opportunities in business for, especially in entrepreneurship at this point. I think COVID really opened the door for a lot of people to take a step back and look at their careers and say, what are my dreams? What do I really want to do? And I think a lot of new businesses were open during COVID for that very reason. So I love helping my students, and a lot of our students really do dream of opening their own business. So I'm really excited about one of our new degrees, the BPS, which has a focus on entrepreneurship.
That's great. And let me tell you, before I became dean, my area of teaching was precisely business. I was teaching entrepreneurship, e-commerce, digital marketing, and I loved it because to me, while sometimes folks don't think of business necessarily in the context of social justice, I think it is one of the principal tools for social justice because it allows for social mobility. It allows for bright students like the ones I had to pursue their dreams and become very successful personally, financially, and that is what motivated me to focus on entrepreneurship. So I think we are of like mind in that sense. So you mentioned something that is quite new at the School of Professional Studies, and that is the BPS. And the BPS stands for the Bachelor of Professional Studies, a fairly innovative way of addressing a need at CUNY and for New Yorkers. Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Sure. So the BPS is the Bachelor of Professional Studies. We call it the BPS AME. So it's the Bachelor of Professional Studies in Applied Management and Entrepreneurship. We do have two other programs. I just want to mention those, of course. So we have a Bachelor of Science in Business, and we also have a Master of Science in Business Management and Leadership. So something that all of our degrees have in common, they're all designed to meet the needs of adult students who are returning to college, some after many years. With the BPS, it's a little bit different, but all of our programs are 100% online asynchronous. So that allows for students to have maximum flexibility. Many of our students, pretty much all of them, are working adults. Many are in career transition. They have families of their own. A lot of them do volunteer work. They're juggling a lot of things at once, and they all need a degree that fits their own schedule. So that's a very important part of our programs, is that we're very flexible, very accessible, and our students are people from 50 states and all over the world. So the BPS in particular, so this is our newest program. We just launched this semester. So this is a very unique program. Our BPS applicants must possess an associate in applied science degree. So they have to have an AAS degree in any major from an accredited institution in order to enter our program. So this degree was created because really few college programs offer undergraduate degrees that fully accept the credits acquired by AAS degree holders. So this
and sorry to interrupt, Tara, but maybe for some members of our audience who might not be familiar, what is the difference between an AS or an AA and an AAS?
Right. So the Associate in Applied Science is a very it's a more lean program. So the Associate in Science students enter that program typically looking to move on to a bachelor's program. It's kind of a gateway. The AAS, many students do not go on to earn a bachelor's. And that is why many colleges don't accept the AAS credits. So our program.
So when we hear the term terminal degree at the community college level, that would be the AAS. So they tend to be a little bit more on the technical or even vocational side. Is that a fair assessment, or
That's
not necessarily?
Definitely a fair assessment. And many people in the AAS don't think about even going on to achieve the bachelor's. It's kind of like the stop at the AAS. So for our degree program for the BPS, it's very unique because, like I said, many colleges don't offer the option to transfer those credits, but we do.
And that's another key question for you, Tara. For some students at CUNY, particularly community college students who are pursuing an AAS, all this might seem clear, but the BPS is a program that is open not only to CUNY community college students, but community college students from all over the nation. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is not just limited to CUNY students. We're open to anybody who has an AAS degree, or if the AAS has not been earned, they must have completed 45 credits toward the AAS.
Fantastic. Oh, okay. So not necessarily having completed, but having a substantial amount of credits completed.
Correct.
And one example I like to give when we are differentiating degrees is an AS, for instance, could be in business, say, right? But the AAS, even from the same community college, might be in something much more specific, say, X-ray technician. So you could complete an AAA in X-ray technician and start working for an X-ray lab, for instance.
Right.
So that's why we call it "quote unquote" terminal. And there are not many options in terms of pursuing a bachelor's with those credits. And I think that's where the BPS is particularly helpful and useful for that population, which I would imagine is in the thousands, right? How many colleges within CUNY offer AASs?
Currently, I believe. I know we have an articulation agreement with Kingsborough, so that is our main, and we're looking into articulation agreements with other colleges as well. I don't have that exact statistic right now, but I
think we have 7 community colleges that all offer AAS degrees.
AAS in particular, And this BPS is the first Bachelor of Professional Studies to be offered at CUNY SPS.
Excellent, very good. So sorry for the interruption.
So this degree was developed in particular so that community college graduates with an earned AAS degree, or at least the 45 credits, could seamlessly transfer those credits toward a bachelor's degree focused in management and entrepreneurship. With this degree, students choose a specialization, either the applied management piece or the entrepreneurship piece. So this is kind of it's a pathway for those AAS degree holders to earn a bachelor's degree while preparing them with the business insight to complement those technical skills that you mentioned,
Yes,
and the knowledge obtained from their AAS and their professional experience. It does prepare students for managerial or supervisory positions within their specific areas of expertise, such as IS, information systems, accounting, engineering, tourism, healthcare, the list goes on and on. Yeah.
and we just, as you mentioned, it's a new program. We just started it this fall.
Yes.
So we have our first cohort of this program. Will it accept students every semester, or there are particular times of the year where students can start?
Yep, the application deadline is coming up. The priority deadline is November 7th. We will accept applications every semester.
Excellent. So before we continue with other questions, I do want to mention for our audience that if you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, please feel free to include them, either for Tara or for me. Please feel free to include them in the comments, and we'll do our best to address them. So going back a little bit to the student who might be contemplating studying business. Could you give us a sense for which skills they should be developing, both while studying and even more important, beyond their degree? What are those skills, sometimes called soft skills, sometimes called hard skills, or life skills? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And I think that it's not really unique to the BPS. I think all of our students at SPS, I think one of the most important skills is time management. When we're learning online in an asynchronous environment, of course, there's deadlines to meet every week. And we all, instructors as well, must manage our time very well and be very organized. I think another skill to have is self-direction, really strong sense of commitment. And another piece is that collaboration and the teamwork. Most of our courses do incorporate a group component or team project component, which is often very difficult online to manage. I also think that a willingness to ask for help is very important. Willingness to ask questions, not being afraid to put yourself out there to your instructor or to the various support services that we have at SPS. Because what happens online when we're learning online is that if you fall behind even a week, it's very difficult to catch up. So it's important at that point, if a student feels like they're struggling or they're behind, to really reach out to first of all, to the faculty member, but also to the support services that are available in order to set up a plan to catch up and then continue. Otherwise, we do see that sometimes if students kind of fall behind a few weeks, it's very difficult to catch up. So that willingness to ask for help, ask questions, see what's available.
So now that you mentioned that, and it's a question I get a lot, when I mentioned that our school is an online school primarily, that most of our courses are offered asynchronously, which for those who might not know the difference, synchronous versus asynchronous means synchronous would be in real time, like what we're doing right now, or a Zoom, where you can have a conversation. Asynchronous is also called self-paced. So if the student has family obligations, work obligations, instead of working or taking the class at 3 p.m., prefers to do it at midnight, for instance, he or she can do it because
which many of our students do.
And a lot of students do.
I get a lot of emails at 3 in the morning.
Many of our students, actually close to 70% of our students at SPS are women. Many of them with one or more jobs, many of them with family obligations. So that's what makes SPS so unique in terms of the accessibility. But it does present a challenge, as you said, which is how do you replicate in the online space that sense of community, that sense of, hey, I'm part of this class, I am part of this group, I interact with students, and I know you have taught for many years now at SPS. Can you explain a little bit how we make an asynchronous online class more engaging, more community building?
Sure. So I think the technology that has developed over the years is crucial. When I started teaching for SPS, and that lone wolf syndrome is real for our students and some for faculty members sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's sitting at the computer a lot. But one of the tools that we're implementing in many of our courses is a tool called VoiceThread. And VoiceThread is an interactive platform where students can post video, audio. They can also submit a text response, which sometimes we limit that to ensure maximum engagement. So for VoiceThread, I like to use it as an icebreaker in the first week so that everyone in the class can see each other, hear each other, see the professor, hear the professor, and then begin to interact that way. So that sense of engagement is meaningful. And it also teaches our students a lot about UDL, Universal Design and Learning. Because it teaches them when we're asking students to put up a presentation, they must caption it, make it accessible, things of that nature. So VoiceThread is a really wonderful tool. I use it in my courses fairly often, and we're trying to implement it within the business programs for a few different stages. So as an icebreaker, we also use it in a lot of our courses as a team icebreaker. So if there's a group project, that team can come together and really start to collaborate. And then I really like to use it also for a final reflection of the class so that students can post a slide saying what they enjoyed, what maybe was challenging, what they'd like to see in a future course section. And then they all come together and everyone's able to interact and hear each other's feedback about the course.
Let me tell you, I must admit that many years ago when I started teaching online, way before the pandemic, I was kind of hesitant because I thought, well, how am I going to keep this class engaging? And VoiceThread is, as Carlos mentioned in the comments, it's an awesome tool. There are many others that would allow you to create that interaction. There are also possibilities within chats or communities within the course to allow for that communication. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about career readiness, career preparedness. If you are a student who's contemplating a business track, a business path or career, do you have any recommendations in terms of how to explore whether a business career is a good fit?
So there's a lot of different things that students could do. I think maybe the most important thing is talking to people in the field, talking to people who are actually in the roles. LinkedIn is a wonderful way to connect in that. You can do searches for people in a particular role or a particular industry and connect and really hear firsthand what it's like to be in that job. I think internships are also a wonderful way to get firsthand experience, along with shadowing. Even just going in for a day and shadowing somebody in a job is a wonderful way to figure out if this is really something that you like. And sometimes students say, I'm thinking about this, or, maybe I'm thinking about a career in accounting, and then they go and they shadow someone. They're like, well, maybe that's not for me. And I encourage them, okay, go shadow somebody else. Let's see what else there is available to you so that they really find a fit. I think that fit when it comes to any position in particular is really important, how that person fits into not only the role, but also the organization, looking at an organization's mission, their vision, their values, seeing if they really align with that person's core values themselves, and seeing how, envisioning how they can contribute to the company. So I think internship, shadowing, talking to people. I also think joining a professional association is a wonderful way. Great. For instance, I'm a member of Society for Human Resource Management, and there's always networking events, even online, conferences, kind of meetups where you can just talk to people in the industry, see what people are up to, see what's new. So I think professional conferences, networking events is an important piece. I would also recommend for students to kind of just do some research online, go on Indeed, go on LinkedIn, search for a job and see what that job description posting says, see what those qualifications are, see what the job looks like. Another great source, which isn't really widely known to a lot of people, is called ONET Online. And this is a site that's sponsored by—
They do what? I'm sorry?
ONET. O-N-E-T. ONET Online. Yeah, this is a site that's sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration. There's a wealth of career resources on there. And also there's it's an assessment that I like to use called the Strong Interest Inventory Assessment. And this is used by the Myers-Briggs Company. And it's a vocational assessment that they have one specifically for students. But if you're a professional looking for new career opportunities, you can take the assessment, and it really narrows down your specific roles, like down to job titles, as well as specific areas that you can pair up with what's going on ONET Online.
So can you spell again how it's O-N-E-T?
O-N-E-T Online.
Online. I'm putting it on the comment section.
Yeah.
I also put the Strong Interest Inventory Assessment on the comments for those who might be interested in looking at those options. And as you said, the internships are so critical. As a matter of fact, we're always looking for ways to expand opportunities for internships, even if they're what are called micro internships, right? We typically think of an internship as a summer long or semester long, but we could have shorter periods of time in which you can get a sense for what an industry is about, what the role or the profession is about. So we have a very strong career services group at SPS, which definitely would be something I would recommend all our students look into. Now, one of the things that you mentioned that really catch my imagination is for students, particularly those who are in New York, and most of our students are in New York City or the New York City tri-state area. We do have an advantage as a New York City-based institution of higher education to have a city that in many ways is a huge campus. As you said, there are opportunities in all sorts of industries. There are meetups, there are events, many of them, actually, I would say the majority of them, free for students to attend. When I was teaching digital marketing and e-commerce, I typically took my students to the headquarters of some of these firms here in New York. Google has one of its headquarters here in New York City. So does Amazon and Amazon AWS. So does LinkedIn and many others. So just talking on the tech and business tech side, there are plenty of options. But any particular profession or interest you might have, whether it's real estate or finance or marketing or advertising or a creative industry, there's so many opportunities. So I definitely encourage our students to participate in as many as they can. Hey, and many of them offer free food too. So, it's not bad when you're a student, right? Let's talk about some of the plans you have for the future in terms of exploring how we can be even more accessible. I like to say that SPS is probably the most accessible CUNY institution because of not only what we share with our peers at CUNY in terms of affordability, the cost of tuition, but also because of that flexibility, but also without compromising quality. That's right. We have been for several years now highly ranked. We're in the top 10 of the U.S. News and World Report in terms of nationwide online bachelor degrees, and one of the ones that you had, the Bachelor of Science in Business, has recently been highly ranked by U.S. News and World Report as well. So congratulations, and it's something that makes us very proud. So we do not sacrifice quality, but we offer flexibility, accessibility, affordability in terms of time, place, and space for our students. And one of those accessibility issues that I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about is, as we look at a population that, particularly in New York and nationwide and worldwide, is more multilingual.
Mm-hmm.
One of the areas we have been discussing is the possibility of exploring options for Spanish-speaking predominant students. And this is just the first of many languages, hopefully, that we will explore. Can you tell us a little bit of what you were initially doing to explore this option?
Sure. So we are currently investigating possible ways to serve existing and potential students from the Hispanic Latino community whose language of preference is Spanish. We are exploring the potential of offering our foundational courses solely in Spanish. The one thing that is very important when we're doing this is to ensure the quality of the learning materials. So many of the learning materials aren't currently offered in Spanish. So we're looking for ways to possibly partner with organizations, particularly when it comes to open education resources, OER. Many of our courses are OER based, making them low cost or zero cost for our students. And that is a goal of mine, to ensure the continual use of OER in ensuring the quality. And that's kind of we have to be diligent in our process to ensure the quality of OER. Compared to 10 years ago, the OER resources that are available now are outstanding. So it's my belief that we can achieve a ZTC degree, zero textbook cost, and that would eliminate the cost of textbooks, which are very expensive for students. Currently,
so the idea would be that all courses required in that concentration would have a zero textbook cost.
Right. So that we would need to create a pathway to a ZTC course. So that means that all of the core courses and most of the all of the core courses and most of the electives would be OER based.
That's fantastic.
That's
a huge saving.
Yeah. Going back though to say, in terms of OER, we are thinking about translating ourselves, thinking about creating an OER repository within SPS. We've been working with the Office of Faculty Development and Instructional Technology, so to see what's available in terms of OER texts, simulations, maybe even creating our own business simulations at SPS. Creating kind of an OER repository. But going back to the Spanish-speaking courses, we would kind of pilot it with our foundational courses that use OER already, and possibly translate those texts ourselves, or maybe partner with OER resources like OpenStax. University of Minnesota is another one that I like. So the courses themselves, they would need to be completely converted to Spanish. We would need bilingual professors, of course, or TAs. And then, of course, we'd have to think about our student support services to ensure that those are also offered in Spanish. We're also looking into business-specific language micro-credentials. I think a lot of times students whose language of preference isn't English may not enter an English course because they're not confident in their skills, or vice versa. So having this micro-credential would help to certify students' language proficiency skills to ensure that they're really set up for success in our business courses. And they could also help to boost students' confidence in their language proficiencies, not to mention it would be a wonderful addition to their resumes to have these certifications.
That's fantastic. And there is one aspect that we at SPS, I'm proud to say we're very strong at, and it is credit for prior learning, or what is also called CPL.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if that is an option for some of those students who might come from a foreign country, right? Who might have the knowledge, who have acquired that learning, and might have a way to validate that knowledge so that they don't have to take a course again.
Yes. So we are always looking for ways to expand our CPL opportunities for our students, credit for prior learning. Bachelor's degree candidates are eligible to transfer up to 105 academic credits from previous educational institutions. So there's a variety of ways that we can use CPL. One is the transfer credit in prior courses that they've taken, in which we evaluate to see if they're equivalent to either a core course or an elective. They could also do something called CPE. It's credit by portfolio evaluation. And this is where students prepare portfolios that reflect their knowledge and expertise that they've learned outside of the classroom. There's also credit by examination, like CLEP and Sailor direct credit exams. And then there's also something that's really exciting and that's expanding lately that's credit for non-collegiate learning. So that's something like a formal course or professional certification, an examination that's taken outside of the traditional degree program that have been evaluated for college credit. So one of them that we're looking at recently are the Google professional certificates. We also offer the EverUp micro-credentials, and I recently approved a few leadership courses from the National Society of Leadership and Success. We also have things.
That's fantastic. And one thing I like to remind our students is that everything you just mentioned in terms of credit for prior learning or by examination, most of those, if not all of those, are absolutely at no cost to the student. So that means, again, going back to the accessibility discussion, that means that they can complete their degree faster and without spending the cost of that tuition of those credits. So it is part of our commitment to continue to be one of the most accessible institution of higher education, not only in New York, but nationwide. So with that, Tara, we have come to an end. See, I told you the half an hour would go very quickly. I know we have many other topics that we would like to discuss. So if you don't mind, I'd love to have you back to continue this conversation. In the meantime, if anyone in the audience is interested in learning more about you or about the business programs, do you have any preference in terms of where to direct them? Where can they reach you?
Sure. They can always email me, tara.barca@cuny.edu.
Okay, I'm going to put it on the comment section, tarabarca@cuny.edu. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a typo. I put the wrong CUNY. tarabarca@cuny.edu. There we go. And there you have it, my friends. Tara, thanks so much. Very, very illuminating, very helpful. Best of luck in your new position as academic director. You're doing a great job, and I look forward to our next interview. So thanks so much, and I will see you soon.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
And thank you, everyone, for attending this live recording. We will also have it, the recorded and edited version, in our YouTube channel soon. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.
Thank you.